What's going on, guys? It is your boy Bodhi right here, back with another ramble video. It's been a while since the last one, but I wanted to get back into the swing of things and make some ramble videos again. Whenever there's anything relevant to talk about, really, but I've had a couple topics lined up for a while now, and then I finally decided that I wanted to do it, and then on top of that I also saw a Reddit comment, which pushed me over the edge to finally go ahead with this video, this ramble. And so the topic for today is glass wrists, or omnia wrists, or Reddit wrists. A dear child has many names, so you can call it whatever you like. And or rather the illusion of glass wrists, because I'm gonna make the case in this video that it's not a real thing. It's just something that people pretend. So whenever the topic is centered around skilling methods, tech manipulation methods like free tick granite or free tick fishing or anything like that, people will always talk about repetitive strain injury, tendinitis, carpal tunnel, arthritis, etc. And none of these things are real things. It's just entirely made up. It's complete nonsense. It's not that these conditions don't exist. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not rejecting it in that regard. It's not like some anti-COVID just for wrists or anything like that. That's a whole nother topic. But it's not that these conditions don't exist and you couldn't suffer from them. It's just that they aren't widespread. They aren't prevalent in the community. It's not something we're seeing. And since it's not something we're seeing, then people should just stop talking about it, since it's not relevant in any capacity. But still, the most casual of casual players, they love to bring it up all the time. And I think the reason why they bring this up so often, because they do it all the time when we're talking about tech manipulation methods, or every time there's a chance they will bring this up. I think there are two main reasons. I think the first one is that they bring it up because they want to use it as justification for why they're not doing these scaling methods. They want to be able to say, oh, I'm not doing it because I want to save my wrists from agony. So in that sense, it serves as like a coping mechanism. That's like the first thing. And the second thing is they want to use it as an excuse for why they want to push to attack high intense scaling methods. So they will use the fact that it's really bad for your wrist. They will use that as an argument for why we should have really low intense scaling methods be the best methods in the game. So it's like two reasons. It's like a dual purpose for why they attack high intense scaling so much, even though they have zero experience with it. Like, it's so funny when you are seeing these discussions on tech manipulation methods. It's always people with 10 hours of tech manipulation who will tell people with 0 hours of tech manipulation methods what they should think about it. It's so stupid. Like, it's just, but I think that's just what the internet is. Really, it's just really dumb people educating other dumb people on something they don't know anything about. So yeah, it's just it's really sad state of affairs, and I think people should just refrain from commenting on it when they know absolutely nothing on the topic. So it is the reason why it's not a thing and why people should stop talking about it is because the first thing you would do in a situation like this, when you're trying to evaluate what is the risk situation like in RuneScape, you would have to take a step back, and you would have to ask yourself, what is the risk situation like for high-level skillers? Are high-level skillers particularly suffering from bad wrists? Do all high-level skillers have tendinitis, arthritis, repetitive strain injury? And if the answer is no, then it probably is also the case that casuals will not suffer from it either. And it's simply not the case that high-level players have tendinitis or arthritis, anything like this. It is entirely made up. And if it was a thing, then we would maybe see like 30-40% of the high-level community, we would see them with the wrist injuries, for example. But even if that was the case, that 30-40% suffered from wrist pain or whatever, then it wouldn't necessarily mean that casuals would also suffer from it, because, like the name implies, in repetitive strain injury, it comes from the repetitiveness of the action. So, if a casual player does 2 hours of tick manipulation methods a day, which they won't get anywhere close to that, of course, especially not on average. But just because you did it for 2 hours a day, for example, let's just say that, then it doesn't follow that you will have it, that you will have a repetitive strain injury. Because repeating something for 2 hours is not very significant. Like, people will repeat the same positions and the same motions on their manual labor work all the time for several hours, 5-7 hours, for example, a day. So you doing tick manipulation methods for 2 hours a day, of course that's not going to hurt your wrist at all. It's entirely made up, it's not a thing. And this is also the reason why we aren't seeing high-level players suffer from it. Well, I don't know if it's the reason why we're not seeing high-level players suffer from it, but it's just the observation that we aren't seeing high-level players suffer from it. And even if we were, then it wouldn't follow that casuals would suffer from it, because I think there's a great difference between doing an activity for 3 hours and then 12 hours, for example. Like, I don't think there's any studies done on this, or there's any research that you can go look at in terms of this. But let's suppose that someone did tick manipulation methods for 3 hours a day, and a high-level player did it for 12 hours a day. That means that the high-level player is doing it 4 times more than the casual player in this hypothetical example. So would this mean that the chance of this high-level player developing wrist pain is 4 times higher? Absolutely not. I don't know what the math is on this. I don't know what the empirical evidence is on a subject like this. But I don't think the chance that you get repetitive strain injury is 4 times higher. It's probably more like 10,000% higher or something like that. Just because of the repetitive nature, I think it goes up exponentially and not a linear graph when it comes to injuries like this. So you could probably walk away scot-free if you only did 3 hours. You would be standing with a really low chance. But even in the high end, even in the 12 hours a day category, we're just not seeing anyone with wrist pain to a significant enough degree that it's worth talking about. So the fact that wrist pain can be entirely non-existent, and yet it's still a talking point in the community, it just shows how brain dead the community is in a lot of respects, and this is just another way that they're demonstrating how ignorant they are on a lot of topics. So it's really disgusting that they would even talk about this. But it's not the only thing. Like, we're also seeing it with when someone like, say, Bebe is trying to justify the gnome cube. He will also use this talking point. He will say that, oh, he loves the rhythm of tick manipulation methods, but he thinks that we should preserve the wrists, and it's really important and it's really imperative that we do our best to not do anything that would cause wrist pain. And this is, of course, ridiculous for all the aforementioned reasons that I've already stated. We are not seeing people with wrist pain. It's not a thing. It's entirely made up. And we're not seeing it with high-level players, and we are absolutely not seeing it with low-level players. So this makes no sense, and this is not a good argument for why we should have a gnome cube. Absolutely not. But I don't know how this has become a really common talking point when people with zero experience with tick manipulation methods are talking about how it hurts their wrist when they've never even tried it before. So yeah, it's completely ridiculous. And then you see someone like Automeology. He has developed wrist pain after picking up weights. So it's funny how he doesn't have any wrist pain when he has done granite multiple hours on end every day. Far more hours than the casual player will ever play. And then as soon as he picks up some weights, then suddenly he has wrist pain. It's not that surprising, of course, when you're outside looking in, because when you put a lot of strain, a lot of weight, a lot of pressure on a very delicate body part, it's not so surprising that you could potentially develop pain and develop injuries. So I'm definitely not denying that it's a thing, especially in stuff like when you're bench pressing, or in other sports like golf and tennis, where you're putting a lot of pressure on a small body part like the wrist. But that's because the exertion is so high on the wrist, unlike with something like skilling. So it's entirely different, and it's kind of ironic how he doesn't experience any pain before, and then suddenly once he stops skilling, that's when his wrist pain arises. So yeah, it's not a thing, and we should stop pretending that it's a thing. So then the question is, what if in a hypothetical world where what people said was true? Let us suppose that people were actually having wrist pain, and maybe we saw in the high-level community 60-70% of people, rather than 0%, 60-70% would be suffering from wrist pain or some wrist related injury. Would this then warrant a look at high-level skilling methods? Would it be a reason to alleviate some of the wrist pain, so it'd be easier to endure or something like that, so that we wouldn't see this high degree of wrist pain in the community? And the answer to that is, of course, absolutely not. If anything, this would be a reason to make sure that the gap between tick manipulation methods and methods below that in XP rates would widen even more, so that it's even more worth it, so it's even more rewarding to do those methods when you get punished in terms of wrist pain for doing those methods. So if anything, it should go in that direction, but absolutely not. If anything, I would argue that you experiencing wrist pain would be a reason to practice better posture. It would be a reason to have good ergonomics. It would be a reason to take some breaks, find ways around it. If you were experiencing wrist pain, then you should maybe take some arty breaks, for example, some crafting breaks between doing your granite or something like that. Some birdhouse breaks, whatever you would have to find a way around it. And this is totally possible, but it's not worth entertaining, because, like I just said, wrist pain is not a real thing. It's just something that people are making up. So there's no point even talking about what people could potentially do in this hypothetical scenario. So we're just gonna leave it at that. Wrist pain is not a thing, and we should really stop pretending that it is. And it's funny when we're not seeing wrist pain in the high-level community and people still choose to talk about it. I think about someone like Lynx Titan. He was a 100-pound skeleton, and he was just eating bread and lasagna. And he didn't have any wrist issues. He never complained about his wrists. Do you think if someone like him, who in 1 month will have skilled more than you will in 2 decades, if he's not experiencing wrist issues, then you absolutely will not experience wrist issues. I think that's fair to say. And of course, people are built differently, but Lake Titan is a 100-pound skeleton. Chances that you will face any wrist issue is 0 to none in comparison to what he's made of. So it's just ridiculous every time people bring this up as a talking point. And then you might ask me, Lavine, do you have a medical background, or do you have a background or any understanding of biomechanics for you to be able to talk about an issue like this? And the answer is no. I don't know anything about biomechanics or anything like that, but I do know a thing or two about epistemology, and I know what the empirical evidence is suggesting, and I also have eyes. I can observe the world around me. I can draw correct conclusions about the world based off of those things that I observe. So, in that respect, I'm qualified to talk about something like this. So, and no one has even bothered to look at something like this. You haven't even, like, none of these casuals who are talking about tick manipulation methods and stuff, none of them have even bothered to take a step back, take a look at what the situation is like in the high level community. Is everyone having wrist pain in the high level community? No one have ever bothered to talk about that. They're just making dumb assumptions like about how widespread this wrist pain supposedly is, but it's not a real thing. It's entirely made up. I've said that many times now, but so when ranked 14, which is Bailey, when he first started skilling, he said that he was experiencing wrist issues. He had wrist pain, he said. And then someone close to him, he didn't have any prior experience with intense skilling methods before, and then he got into skilling and he was suddenly experiencing wrist pain. And then someone close to him and in the skilling community told him that he should just grow up, and he decided to grow up, and he also told himself to grow up, and he just wanted to push through the pain that he was experiencing. And from that point on, he never had any wrist pain. It just magically it all went away. And this is because the wrist pain is mostly in your head, because you're doing something that you're not conditioned to do, something you've never done before, and suddenly the intensity of what you're doing is increasing. So of course you can feel something. I can also feel when I've done a 6 hour of granted into a skilling competition. I can also feel that, of course, but that doesn't mean that I'm experiencing wrist pain just because you can feel it. You can also feel, if you go outside and you walk for 2 hours, you can also feel that in your legs. That doesn't mean that your legs are coming off or anything like that. It's totally natural to feel something when you're not conditioned to do it. So, excuse me, if the whole foundation of your account is built on 5 APM methods, then it's not so surprising that you will feel something in your wrist when you first try to skill. But eventually you will overcome it. If you just stick at it and you stop being a crybaby about it. It's funny because with the Bailey situation, like, what if you told someone with a broken leg that he should just continue playing football with the broken leg, bro? Now, everyone would understand that would be extremely stupid for someone to do it like that. But in this case, it's clear that if he had a broken leg, if he had a broken wrist, if he actually had pain, then he wouldn't just be able to push through it, right? I think we can all see that wouldn't be the case. And we of course shouldn't base our beliefs around personal anecdotes, like in the case of automelology, experiencing wrist pain after he stopped skilling, or Bailey just wishing his wrist pain away. Of course, we shouldn't base our beliefs on this particular issue off of just personal anecdotes. That's really stupid. But it just goes to show that the wrist pain and people's assumption about wrist pain is entirely made up. It's not a real thing. It's not something that people actually suffer from. It's just something that people are pretending. It's something that people are using as a coping mechanism. It's something that people are using as an excuse so they don't have to go through the tick manipulation. And it's something that people use so they can justify pushing for more easy escape content into the game. And they want the easy escape methods to take over the tick manipulation methods. They want to lower the gap between the rewards of doing a low intense methods and a high intense methods, and they will use the wrist pain argument as an excuse for why we should have this in the game. And yeah, the last thing I just wanted to show the Reddit comment. Not that there's anything special about it. It's pretty similar to pretty much all other comments on this particular matter when it comes to tech manipulation methods and wrists. So the parent comment here, the name is blurred out because I've heard that you shouldn't promote really dumb people's takes. So I've listened to the very smart people who are much smarter than me, and I've blurred out his name. So he says, "I'll give you physical issues like carpal tunnel, LMAO. The game has existed for decades, y'all. Just chill and enjoy yourselves. No need to hurt yourself for pixels, LMAO." So it's just there's nothing special about the comment. It's just a comment, just like any other comment. When it comes to tech manipulation methods, a very widespread comment that most casuals believe in. And you can see all the comments beneath that one is the children to the parent comment here. So you can see they are all in agreement with our Reddit bro at the top. So yeah, there's not much more else to add to this topic, I don't think. We should I'll just wrap it up here and say that we should stop pretending that wrist issues are a real thing. It's entirely made up. And there might be the odd person who suffer from wrist injury, of course. But to think that it is a widespread thing or anything like that is absolutely ridiculous. And we should stop making this. We should stop pretending that it's a thing, and we should stop talking about it as if it is a thing. So, if I hear anyone ever use this talking point about weak wrists or whatever, chances are they are a moron, and we should probably dismiss anything they have to say about anything related to the game. So yeah, see you in the next one, guys.